Whoops, there you guys are. Well, hello everybody and welcome back to Watts the Obsession live stream. It is Friday night, Watts the Obsession date night, and I'm sorry I haven't seen you in a few Friday nights. I am just coming back from taking a month-long break from YouTube. I wasn't planning it. I didn't announce it. We're human beings. We all know how it goes. Sometimes other things in life demand your attention, and I've had a whole lot of that going on. So I am so happy to be back and to see you guys and to hear from you and to see what you have to say in chat and to share some content with you because I seriously miss you guys. So I hope everyone is doing super well. And thank you so much for being here tonight. And especially thank you, moderators. You guys are amazing. Channel members, Patreon members, and just everybody who's here to check out what we are going to be talking about tonight. So I'm just going to get right into it. Thank you guys for waiting. I had to pick up my kid and then StreamYard just made me erase a bunch of material that I've had saved on StreamYard. I haven't been on here in a month and a half, and it changes the rules all the time. So thank you guys for being here and for your patience. And oh my gosh, Honey Bun, one of our head moderators, has been a member for 37 months. That is amazing, Honey Bun. And Cuff-You and Ara. Oh, Cuff-You's been a member for 12 months. And Anaphylaxis and Edward. And let's see, Kevin, thank you guys so much for doing all the work you do and moderating. And just thank you guys so much for being here tonight. So we're going to be talking about the Watts case. And hey, do me a favor, just give me an audio check. How is the sound? I missed you back, girl. I miss you back, Ara. We're going to be talking about the Watts case, and we are going to be looking at the first video recorded interview that Nicole Kessinger did with law enforcement. It was the interview where she was questioned by CBI agent Kevin Kobach. Right? We all know Kevin Kobach, right? Or if you don't, you're going to meet him real quick, and you're probably going to develop an idea pretty quickly about Kevin Kobach as well. And Nicole Kessinger's father was in the room. It's one with the yellow table. We'll see it in just a moment. Now, I want to introduce you guys to this channel called Veriscope, or maybe you found it yourself. Ever since this channel appeared on YouTube, I have been watching the content, and it is absolutely brilliant. The theory behind Veriscope is to identify deception or truthfulness using forensic statement analysis. And this method that this gentleman uses, guys, is spot on. I am impressed time and time again regarding the accuracy of his conclusions of the analysis that he makes. Thank you, Julie. Thanks, guys. And I want to see what you guys think about it as well. Have you found this channel, Veriscope? He's also created content on a number of other cases. Some of my favorites are, the Madeline Soto case. He does statement analysis with Jennifer Soto. And man, this guy is so spot on. It's incredible. And another one of my favorites is when he does a forensic statement analysis of Wendy Adelson. Dan Markel, the Adelson family, Donna, Charlie behind bars, along with 3 other accomplices or gunmen, and Wendy maybe next or maybe not, but his analysis of both of those crimes is absolutely incredible. And I was so excited when I saw he was going to be doing some forensic statement analysis using the Veriscope method with the Watts case. So we're going to start with watching some of what he has to say using his method of forensic statement analysis with Nicole Kessinger's interview. But if you like this channel, if you like what he's doing, you can go check out the channel. I suggest doing so anyway. I think you guys will all love it. He also did some forensic statement analysis using Veriscope with Chris Watts interviews, and it is pretty incredible. So, hey guys, thanks so much for being here. I'm not going to go through chat individually. I see all of you guys, and I love you, and I'm so glad you're here because I want to get right into this. I know that we're starting a little late this evening, but thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate y'all, and I hope that you guys are all doing amazing. Yeah, and Edward, yeah, guys, moderators, it's okay. You can get a little sidetracked now, but try to keep the chat on what we are checking out here because it's really good stuff. We definitely want to stay focused on it and give this channel our full attention and respect because he's great. All right, without further ado, here we go. Oh, play it up here.
Welcome to the Veriscope report, where we're looking at Nicole Kessinger, part 1, the seal. And this is part of the analysis into Chris Watts. And we're building intelligence using forensic linguistics and statement analysis. So today we're going to hear Nicole in an interview with these law enforcement officers, and her father is also present. And then we're going to be looking at the forensic linguistics, in other words, the words that she chooses to use, and what intelligence can that give us? For example, is she being open and cooperative? Is she conveying information, or is she trying to convince you? Is she ingratiating herself with law enforcement unnecessarily, considering that a mother and 2 young children have been murdered and the mother was pregnant as well? So we'll be looking at what we can discover through the forensic linguistics, and then we will hopefully by the end of the law enforcement interview have come to some conclusions. We enter a statement when looking at statement analysis with a principle, and that principle is that we believe the speaker until and if they themselves talk us out of it. So it's her own words that we're analyzing, not the outside information or evidence at first. Okay, so let's hear what she has to say. And
Okay, so I just wanted to emphasize that. And, I think this is really interesting because a lot of the people that do these like forensic statement analysis know very little about the case or the players in these cases when they start. So he is using exclusively this Veriscope forensic statement analysis method to analyze her level of deception or truthfulness without having a lot of background knowledge in the case. So we're going to take what we know about this case. And if you're new to it, don't worry, we're going to catch you up super quick and, connect it with his statement analysis method. And we're going to come to some conclusions with a degree of certainty that we maybe have had a hunch about, but haven't been able to be certain about before. I think it's really quite incredible. I'm so excited about this.
The interview can play now.
I just turned the recorder. Okay. So again, this room is recorded and video and audio. We introduced ourselves in the lobbies and earlier, so we're just going to do that again real quick. My name is Kevin Kovac. I'm with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and we're assisting the Frederick Police Department with this case involving Chris Watts. And this is Tim Martinez, also an agent at CBI. Sir, if you just introduce yourself.
Dwayne Kessinger. I'm Nicole's father.
Dwayne, what's your birthday?
November 3rd, 1958.
And home address for you, sir?
8801 West 65th Avenue.
Let's see.
And that's Arvada, 8004.
And a cell phone or a home phone or where?
720-982-4547.
Thank you. And Nicole, can you just introduce yourself for the recording?
Nicole Kessinger. Do you need all the other stuff?
Yes, please.
I live at 12255 Claude Court, Unit 612, phone number 720-656-9605.
Claude Court, is that? I think we determined it was North Glen, right?
Yes.
Do you know your zip code?
80249.
Okay. Can you speak up just a little bit so the recorder? I know you're tired and you're stressed, and we won't be here any longer than we have to be. You've already had a conversation with people before. You came here on your own free will to talk to us. We picked you up at your request and brought you here. You can get up and leave at any time. You don't have to talk to us. If there's a question you don't want to answer, don't answer it. If you don't want to talk anymore, just tell me I want to leave. And I'm kind of in the way of the door, but you're not being interrogated as a criminal suspect. We're here to understand your relationship with Chris and what you know about Chris and his family, and events relating to Chris Watts. And do you know him as Chris or Christopher?
Either one.
Okay. So the phone number that you reached him on, can you tell me what that number was?
I think I deleted that out of my phone too. I just cut him out of my life.
Yeah, I think I deleted that out of my phone too. It's she's referring at first glance to the fact that she's been deleting things off her telephone. She's sensitive because there's been 3 murders by her boyfriend, her lover. His pregnant wife has been murdered and his 2 little girls. So she's sensitive, and she's been deleting texts and messages and possibly other evidence and communications, perhaps via other social media or messaging apps which are encrypted, like WhatsApp at the time, or Telegram, or Signal, or social media like Snapchat, for example. She's been deleting, but she has also told Chris, the murderer, Chris Watts, to delete as well. And yet, as she sat in this room with her father, she is unaware if Chris has had time to delete his telephone of the messages. She has. And when she tells us that she might have deleted the work number that they first communicated on two can have a double meaning. It can be that it's one of the numbers and things that she's deleted off her phone, and this is another one too. But also bear in mind the unconscious will often be talking as well, or too. And because she's been communicating with Chris for him to delete too, we might see 2 reasons why we're seeing this word too. 2-2 was a racehorse, 2-2 was 1-2. 2-2 won 1 race, and 2-2 won 1-2. Did you know that? Okay, let's carry on.
It's a 910 number. You guys have it.
No, we gave it to Mark yesterday.
Yeah, I probably
Don't
have it,
have
but
it.
just in case.
I don't have it.
If I recited it to you, would you know it?
Just the first 3 numbers.
Okay, so it's interesting that she doesn't know the telephone number that they first started communicating on. There's call history. So she's not being open and cooperative, it appears, because she's accidentally lost the telephone number that they were first communicating.
No way. Nicole Kessinger not being open and cooperative when talking to law enforcement? That's really hard to believe, isn't it? Yeah, you know, right?
Communicating with. I can remember the first 3 numbers. That's what I do know, she tells us.
But you know it as a 910 number?
Yes, that's what I do know. I mean, that's what we got.
North Carolina or something.
North Carolina. Okay, so let's just start with
and Dad helps out there to emphasize that we are cooperating, we are being helpful.
a timeline of your getting to know Chris, how you guys met, where you met, all those things. And let's just run. And I'm not going to ask you specific questions unless I think it's necessary. I'll let you just tell me your story. I think it's a little bit easier that way. So I just want to know how you met him, where you met him, how long you guys were dating, and those kind of things initially.
Okay. I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June. It might have been May.
Okay, so we immediately have hedging, don't we? I think I might have met him. So we note that, but nothing unusual per se. The turn of phrase, it's how people speak. She's minimizing anyway, but people, perhaps they mightn't they? You've been going out with a murderer of his entire family. Perhaps you'd minimize as well. Perhaps I would. So is it that unusual that she's minimizing? Well, probably not. But we notice that she is. And so therefore we put in the flag that she is portraying cooperation, but possibly isn't because suddenly numbers have gone missing. And she's minimizing, which again could be a valid reason, but we notice. Let's carry on. So in go the flags. And because we're doing statement analysis, rather than get caught up in debates of, is the word to leakage in some sense, that she was encouraging Chris Watts to delete his phone numbers and intelligence and evidence too, or did she only mean herself because she had deleted and got rid of intelligence of other stuff and this too? We don't debate the unconscious. We note that there's a possibility, and in goes the flags. Does that make sense? And the reason why we don't debate it on the first run of essentially creating the pattern of the statement is it would just take too long. And there'll be other things later in the statement that either confirm or show us that we were wrong. And bear in mind, we're often wrong. I was wrong yesterday with a transcript error. It changed the entire analysis. So I'm looking at the audio of that to see whether or not she says text in a slight accent that has an ah in it. So text, that sort of language. I need professional audio examiners to see whether or not there was an error. But because it is arguable, we lean towards that it is not an error of linguistics. So we always give them the benefit of the doubt where we should. So errors can be made. Let's carry on.
Just talking at work is pretty casual.
So notice the continuing minimization pattern, pretty casual, etc.
And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger.
Okay, so what's important to the suspect or the person that you're interviewing? You might be interviewing her for a job, let's say, or a candidate who has her type of personality. So the more that you can spot somebody who perhaps is selfish, self-centered, perhaps narcissistic type of personality, toxic perhaps as a work colleague, the easier it is not to work with them.
So what do you guys think about this guy so far? Don't you love his accent? He's very intelligent. What do you guys think? Have you found this channel before? Have you heard his analysis before? Let me know what you think in the chat. Now, hey, KJ Wade, nice to see you. It says, she deleted, but everything should be on Chris Watts' phone, shouldn't it be? Well, this is one of the very interesting things. And this is a piece of information that I can contribute to this puzzle that I learned, well, exclusively in this way. Some of you know the story. I'm going to go through it very quickly. A long time ago, a good friend of mine who is an attorney, I went to law school with him. He runs a non-for-profit up in Newark, New Jersey. He's very successful. He was a defense attorney prior to starting the non-for-profit. Well, he still is, but he does it through the non-for-profit. I was trying to get him to read through the discovery. I was very interested in this case. He's a brilliant legal mind, and I thought that he would find it interesting and that maybe he could help us come to some conclusions that he found as a lawyer through the discovery. So he was hesitant. Finally, he started to dig into it, and he was like, oh my God, he got just as hooked as many of us did. He's like, Kelly, I cannot believe this. This is incredible. I said, I told you so. Well, he travels a bit for part of what he does for work. And he did go to Colorado. When he was in Colorado, it just so happened that he was really into the discovery at that time in this case. He spoke to somebody who was integral in this investigation. And through the conversation, he relayed to me that it came out with this person that he spoke to, that they, law enforcement, did in fact recover all of the messages, the text messages. We're talking SMS style text messages, your standard text between Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts, not just from Chris's phone, but also from Nicole Kessinger's phone. Now that information has not been released publicly. Very interesting now, isn't it? What they did not recover, because they never got a chance to forensically excavate this communication information from Chris or Kessinger's phone, because when Detective Prill, who authored part of the discovery, the timeline, and the prelude to it, found that there were things on Chris Watts' phone that the forensic dump didn't catch, because the technology that law enforcement used hadn't caught up with the iPhone technology yet. He wrote in the discovery, "Oh my gosh, I found this stuff just out of my pure curiosity. I'm going to immediately apply for another search warrant." This was on Halloween of 2018. And it's going to go right to Michael Rourke's office, District Attorney Michael Rourke's office. Well, as I've told you before, 2 days later, Michael Rourke and Steve Wren get on a plane, go to South Carolina to visit Shanann Watts' family, and in my mind, convince them to accept Chris Watts' plea deal if he would plea, taking the death penalty off the table, which we all know is a big lump of bullshit, right? And it was 6 days after Detective Prill found that there was communication information between Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger that was going to require another search warrant in order to see exactly what it was. 6 days after that, Michael Rourke struck a plea deal with Chris Watts. So why is it that we know, just through my friend Alex, through some conversations he had, that it came out that law enforcement did get all of the text message communications between Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger off of both phones, but they never had the opportunity to get those other like third-party app communications, because in my opinion, Michael Rourke cut off that opportunity once he found out that Detective Prill was onto it. Does that make sense? That is freaking shady. And this is why people are still so intrigued with this case and want to know the truth. Why did all this shady shit go down when law enforcement was supposed to be convicting anyone connected to this heinous crime?
But my point is this: what's important to them as a priority in the statement is important to us to listen to if we're interviewing her, as an example. And what's important to her is that Chris, he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. So we notice Chris has become he, which is normal, isn't it? Once you discover that your lover's a maniac, willing to kill his entire family to be with you, perhaps you would use his name a little less and Chris becomes he. So we put in the flag, we note the drop of the name and the pronoun use. But what's important to her is that he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. So in a way, she's saying, it's not my fault. Don't blame me. Look, he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. You see, I'm not the harlot you think I am, running off with a married man. Not that it matters these days per se, but in some senses, she is using the language of don't blame me, importantly, as a priority.
And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away.
Okay. He didn't even mention his kids right away. Do you see? So it's important to her not to be blamed as the home wrecker, the other woman, and all the derogatory types of statements that society has sometimes, and perhaps wrongly, labeled, and unfairly, because don't forget, it takes two to tango. So the men are to blame as much, if not more, in many instances. But either way, she's aware of this societal glare, and so therefore she's defensive. Does it show anything? Or is it normal? Well, I would have leaned towards it's a normal feeling of guilt and shame, whether it's deserved or not. She's aware that it exists in other people's minds. And that's why it's important for her to make it very clear that it's not my fault. He didn't even have a wedding ring on. He didn't even mention his kids right away. How could I know it's not my fault?
Either. And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And so tell me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was like right around Father's Day too. So whenever that is in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not good with holidays.
he told me he had kids, and then it was Father's Day shortly after
Okay.
that. So that's what I do now. And I was like, I thought it was cute. And then he's telling me about him. He's pretty excited about him. And then he mentioned that he did have a significant.
Okay, so we're getting unnecessary language, ingratiation. It's all very jovial. Let's have a little bit of a laugh and a giggle. Let's introduce some levity into the proceedings. But there's been a murder of 2 little children. So she's using unnecessary language to feel safe in safe ground. And we notice with suspects who are hiding things, and perhaps she's just hiding shame or guilt, or perhaps there were the sorts of texts that you wouldn't want others to see. They might have been sexting, etc. And isn't it human nature to want to hide that from others? Doesn't mean that you're involved in the murder or the planning of the murder, does it? So we put in the...
Now, something I really like about this person that does this Veriscope forensic statement analysis is that he is very fair about his analysis, and he's very forthcoming. He's like, so, just because she's saying this and being, sort of deceptive in this way, it doesn't mean that she's a murderer. But, just you wait, because he develops this analysis just through this beginning part of this interview, and it is absolutely brilliant. Let us continue.
Flag, but we still believe the speaker, we believe the narrator, the storyteller. We're just noticing things currently.
Other. And then he told me that those 2 were in the process of a separation.
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick, but to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know.
Okay, so we're seeing the introduction of the hedging, the continued minimization, and the beginning of not wanting to be pinned down to exact dates or exact words. And exact dates are a phrase that she starts to use. I believe we're going to see the use of the word exact more often than we might expect.
So in May and June, first of all, where do you work?
I work at Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. I'm contracted to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation.
Okay, and you work out of an office setting where?
In Platteville, Colorado.
Okay, and Chris also works out of that location, per se?
Yes, he's in the field, but he comes into the office with his team.
So you work, what is your job responsibility?
I do health, safety, and environment.
Okay, so you work in the office and you take care of health safety for Anadarko is an oil and gas company, right?
Yes.
So you're doing health safety in the office and Chris works in the field.
Yes.
As a, what kind of job does he do?
He's an operator. So I don't know like all of his daily duties, but he's a field operator. So he works with like the oil wells.
So he goes out and does work on those, whatever
Yes.
That work might be. But he comes into the office frequent.
In the mornings, his team meets in the mornings. They're not all in there every day. Some days, some of them are in there. Some days, other ones are in there. But in the mornings, typically from like 6:15 to probably 7, somewhere around there.
And is that where you met Chris?
Yes.
Okay. So can you just take us through kind of a little bit of the early part of how he courted you or you courted him? I don't know which one happened. how you guys got to know each other.
I guess we just started talking. He actually.
Okay, so we continue to see the reduction to commitments, the minimizations, the justs, the guesses, the usuallys, the actuallys. So we note them and we flag them.
So part of my job is.
And here is a word which we would mark in blue. It's a reason why. So words like because or so, we would be, if we're marking up a document, we might mark in blue.
Now, when he talks about marking up a document, marking it in blue, marking it in red, if you go back to some of his earlier videos, especially, he teaches his audience how to do this method of forensic statement analysis. It's really quite incredible. And you can catch on very quickly. I was watching, when I was first watching his videos, I was watching it almost like I was, doing a training. I was taking notes and then trying to actually apply this method myself. And you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. It's really awesome stuff. I just recommend this method and his channel so highly. Again, it's Veriscope. Link is, of course, in the description.
The reason that we use colors is to help identify the pattern. So if a statement is blue everywhere, at first glance, we can see immediately that they're constantly justifying, more so than a statement that isn't covered in blue. And if a statement's covered in blue and covered in flags that we're identifying, we might begin to think, out of all the thousands of statements that I've looked at, this one has more blue and more flags than any other. Not that this one does, but as an example. So we look out for these reasons why.
Is to manage the gas monitors that we have. So Anadarko requires all of their field personnel to carry like a gas monitor.
And also we might notice that we've got unnecessary language, safe areas. In safe areas, we also note she's willing to pontificate. She's willing to hang around in these safe areas, pontificating for as long as the detective will let her. So that in itself becomes its own flag.
Sensors for toxic gases, and it's my job to control the inventory, any issues, anything like that. And we were having some pretty serious equipment issues, and we had numerous amounts of people coming in my office one day, and he happened to be one of them. And I'd seen him before, they meet in the lunchroom, and that's where I go put my lunch in the fridge. So I'd seen him, but I didn't ever talk to him.
Okay, so we didn't need to know that that's where she goes.
Whoops. Oh, sorry. I'll go back there just a minute, but I just want to answer this text. So Jennifer Smith had asked, well, why did she, delete her text or, text in the first place if she wanted people to read them, or if she knew that deleted text could be retrieved? I can tell you this from working in the cellular industry and the inside acquisition. Remember, this was in 2018. And in 2018 and before that, yes, of course, some people knew that law enforcement had the capability of retrieving texts, even if they were deleted, on certain phones in certain occasions. Not always, but in this case, yes, that did in fact happen. Now people pretty much know that if you text it, it's going to remain forever. Somebody is likely going to be able to find it somewhere if they work hard enough to do, and they have the proper equipment and software. But, almost 8 years ago in 2018, it wasn't really public knowledge that law enforcement had that capability. Many people believed if you deleted text, that whatever the wireless carrier's policy was for holding on to that information was what's up. So say, for example, AT&T would hold on to text messages for 30 days, Verizon only 7. So if you were to Google, can law enforcement retrieve my text messages? What you probably would have found in 2018 is if you were a customer of Verizon, your messages will be saved in our database for 7 days. If you're a customer of AT&T, they will be saved for 30 days. And people would think that law enforcement could go that far back, if at all. Still, they would be able to get a chunk of her text messages. But I don't think just by Googling that information or asking that question to Google, she would have found the appropriate answer. It was much more secretive back in 2018. Now the cat's kind of out of the bag, right? If you don't want someone to read it, if you don't want law enforcement to know it, certainly don't text it in the first place.
to put her lunch in the fridge, as an example. So we might look at that briefly for, is there anything unusual about that? Is there leakage in there? We might look at tense, pronoun. We might just think, okay, is it just unnecessary language? And if it's just unnecessary language, in goes the flag for unnecessary language. Because in deceptive statements, it's found that percentage-wise, truthful statements don't have this fluff, this pontification, this unnecessary language, this waffling on before getting to the actual point. 2 children have been murdered. This isn't the time to, for a coffee morning. Let's carry on.
So that day we just started talking, and then every time I saw him in the hallway after that, and it was always hit or miss, like it wasn't an everyday thing. It was just when I saw him, we just started talking, and we just kind of had a lot in common and just hit it off. So we'd always have.
So here we have the justification flood. Guilt, shame, all sorts of feelings might be going on. We don't know, but we can see the justification flood.
Pretty good conversations, and then I don't know, one day he told me that he had kids and started talking about his kids, and then mentioned that
certain other things that we might look out for are self-censorship, or times where perhaps due to cognitive overload they might repeat pronouns such as I, or he, for instance.
I have a wife, but we're getting separated. So, okay. And
When do you think that was?
when he said all that,
So specifically when he told you he was getting separated from his wife, was that within the first couple of weeks that you knew him, or was that later on? You said you met him around May or June.
yeah, it was still in June.
Okay.
It would have been before Father's Day.
So had you guys ever gone out on any kind of
No.
date at that time? You just were
No.
conversing at work?
Yeah, that's all it was. And then I don't know. We started hanging out. We hung out. We went to a park. Hung out at a park.
Let's go back real quick. So why did he tell you that he was getting a divorce? Did he ask you out at that time?
No, he didn't. I think he was probably interested in me, and so.
So notice, I think he was probably interested in me, and so here we have a mixture of reduction in commitment, minimization, reasons why about to be presented. So in go the flags, and because of the number of flags which we're noticing, we begin to wonder if she is genuinely being open and cooperative, or if she is deliberately hiding information and intelligence. We know she's deleted as much as she can, and we know she's told Chris, the murderer, to delete his too. But what she's unaware of, and this is her problem, she's unaware if Chris had time to do that, and she's unaware what this guy knows. Does this guy have Chris's telephone? She doesn't know. All she knows is she's deleted it all, and she's willing, potentially, and this is why the detective's being really, really nice and gentle and tiptoeing around the rose garden, because she can walk out at any time, and then he's going to have to think about warrants and what have you. So he's being gentle.
So he makes such a good point here. There's a lot that she doesn't know. Remember, when she's going into this interview, this investigation is still brand new. It's still going on. Chris hadn't even been arrested yet. Had he been arrested? Oh, no, he had been. I'm sorry. At this point, he had. But there's a lot of information she doesn't know. So, I can't remember if he said it just yet, but I know at some point, all of the things that she says in the beginning, like, oh, my tummy hurts. I've been sick. I'm so tired. She's just leaving herself all of these avenues to scoot out if things get too uncomfortable, because there is a lot of uncertainty going on. So the manipulation skills that she is applying here are really quite advanced. And he's going to start talking about that in a moment. And again, I think it's really quite brilliant. Can't wait to watch it with you guys.
She, on the other hand, might be genuinely so ashamed and embarrassed as to what these communications are that that's her motivation, the selfish one. I'm not going to help you because it's just too embarrassing for me motive. Could be, couldn't it? We don't know what kind of text they've exchanged together. But her problem, and part of the reason why she has to hedge and dance and duck and dive, and while you'll see the skills of a gaslighter exhibited, and you'll see the skills of a very good and practiced manipulator appear, it's because she doesn't know what they've got. And so she has to leave avenues of escape, just in case Chris hasn't had the opportunity to delete Snapchat, let's say, for instance. So watch.
Okay, whoops. Okay, so I just want to clarify this. Good point. So Alyssa said, and hi, Alyssa says, I'm sorry, I don't think these are quite advanced manipulation skills. My 6-year-old tells me their tummy hurts when they want to get out of something. Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying that, saying, oh, I don't feel good, knowing that you might be able to get out of something is an advanced manipulation skill. It's the whole lot of them all. And he's going to be talking about this, in his own way, using his own methodology as this video goes on. What I'm saying is this woman is clearly very experienced in manipulating people, in my opinion, based on what we see from her and the almost 12 hours of interview that we've listened to from her and the 5 interviews that she's done with law enforcement in person or over the phone. I believe that this woman has manipulated her way through her entire life.
Out for this continued hedging and minimization.
He talked to me a couple times via his work phone, and I was like, no. Like, it was still very, friendly conversation. But then when I realized, this man is interested in me, I'm interested in him, this is personal. So we got away from the Anadarko thing because I really don't want those guys affiliated with any of this. And
So you have a work phone that's specifically...
No, I have one phone that I do both on. He has 2 phones.
Okay, so he had your phone, the 720-656.
That's the only number that I roll with all the time.
Okay.
So he has 2 phones.
All right. One of those owned by Anadarko and
Yes,
one
sir.
personal.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what his Anadarko phone number was? Okay.
It's been so long, and I mean, I'm sure I could look it up, but I tried to look it up for those guys yesterday, and I couldn't find it.
Okay. We can find it. That's okay. Just wondering if you knew it.
But at that point, we just took it to his phone because I just felt it was better that way. And we just continue to talk, and then.
So notice that she is the instigator and the leader in moving communications away from where others could potentially access it or see it one day. Not necessarily because she knows or is planning any sort of mass killing, but because they wanted privacy. So nothing wrong in that. But we notice who the leader is, don't we? She's in charge of communications. She's in charge, even at the end, of telling Chris, delete everything.
Let me go back to the park. Where's the park?
It's down the street from my house. It's called East Lake number 3.
Your house?
Yes.
In Northglenn?
Yes.
And that was in the June timeframe.
The beginning of July. It was right around my birthday. It's so sometime at the very end of June or the beginning of July.
Okay. And that's the first meeting you had outside of work.
Yeah.
And thank you to Frankie who put this video up on YouTube. I'll attach a link to the YouTube without my commentary over the top in case you want to go back and hear the entire clean. It's about 3.5 hours, I believe, something like that. So, in fact, no longer, isn't it? It's 300. It's 333 minutes, is it? Something like that. So if you want to hear the entire police interview without commentary, I'll link Frankie's YouTube in the description.
Basic conversation for a first date.
I mean, we kept it pretty simple, I guess, you know. I don't even remember everything we talked about.
Okay, so do you notice it's constant, it's exhausting. She's, before the interview, given them all a speech about how tired she is. I mean, it's exhausting listening to her. Everything's minimized. Everything's can't really remember. Everything is leaving avenues of escape. She's not being open and cooperative.
Oh, we
Sure.
were there for a few hours. But
Understand so if I ask about conversation, what I'm looking for, was he talking about his family during any of these meetings? Those are the kind of, I understand, whatever you guys were talking about, relationship, your life, your interests, those things, we don't need to know that. What I'm interested in is knowing is when he brings up his children, when he brings up his wife, when he brings up financial information, when he brings up his home, when he brings up anything that may have been, and it's been a few days, so you've had a chance to reflect on some articles that you may have read, and unfortunately, that you're in a situation where somebody has been murdered. And that information, when you look backwards in your memory with the conversations with Chris, anything that he might have said that would be relative to that, and I'm not just, even if one day he was mad and he said, I want to do this or do that, anything like that, if he ever made.
So we have the shaking of the head denial that even if Chris had said anything and he intimated towards being mad or angry, we had the immediate shake of the head.
Any kind of statements that you were like, whoa, that was weird, or why would he say that, or why did he mention that? Do you understand?
So the law enforcement officer has given her the framework, which, if she understands what he said, she will now be able to present the narrative that she's willing to, that fits the framework that the officer has just described. So he's described what he wants, and she will now be able to fill in that framework with her own choice of all of the selection of intelligence that she has.
And what I'm
no,
looking
I
for.
completely understand.
Okay, so she says that she completely understands.
I just feel like some of this happened so long ago.
But she didn't use the word but, I did. But she feels like some of this, not all of it, but she feels like some of this happened so long ago.
So pay attention here. I think that this analysis here is really, really important.
What was it? Did they meet something like 6 weeks ago, was it? But she feels like, not that it is, and also not that all of it is, just some of it. And not even some of it is, just that it feels like some of this happened so long ago. So she's about to establish, she says, I completely understand you want, essentially, the truth. Yeah, that's what he took all his time to dance around the rose bushes with, because he doesn't want to upset her in case she walks out. Because he's had to listen to a whole diatribe before he got in the room about how she's tired, about how she's stressed, about how she's hungry, about how she's tired. She's setting up, she's a manipulator, in advance her escape routes. Whenever I want to feel ill or tired or stressed, and that's the reason why I can't answer, I've pre-set it up. It's what manipulators and gaslighters do, and that's what she did before she even sat down. Here we are seeing the beginnings of active non-cooperation. We listen carefully. She said, I completely understand. Completely, she said. But now she feels like some of this happened so long ago, like 6 weeks, perhaps 8 or 9, I don't know, but not long, is it? And so because she knows it's not long, when we slow down and deconstruct the deception, she can't say that it was so long ago that she can't remember, because it wasn't. So she has to say that it feels like. That means I can now gaslight you, because it's only she feels like some of this. So get you to agree, because it's her feelings, and it's not all of it, just a little part, happened so long ago. This is the setup. This is the gaslighter's setup. Because without this, she can't go on to not cooperate. It would seem so strange. So they put this in front of the non-cooperation.
That I can't tell you like the exact words of the exact.
Okay. So remember, she's used the word exact before, but now she's going to say that I can't. I cannot tell you like the exact words of the exact. And the reason why? Because she feels like some of it is so long ago. That's why I'm not going to tell you exactly what we said and exactly when we said it, because I feel that some of it is so long ago. So we're dealing with a manipulator and someone who's practiced at it.
Conversation at the exact time and place, because it's like we had a lot of
Okay, so here we have an absolute refusal. And now we're going to get a second reason why. And here it is. Because it's like we had a lot of conversations. So let's slow it down. The reasons why she's suddenly not open and cooperative is because she feels like some of it is so long ago. And so then I'm not going to give you the exact words at the exact time, at the exact location. I'm not going to, because it's like we had a lot of conversations. So I'm not going to.
conversations. I mean, we talked every single day. So it's
So if there's
like I'm trying to help you guys with this.
I mean,
I just have to pause to say what an effing brat this woman is.
we talked, and now we have the threat come in. So I'm like trying. Notice this? She's not helping. We notice with the liars and the gaslighters and the deceivers, they will often tell the truth. It's like I'm trying. Do you see? It's like I'm trying. That's because you're not. You are actively in deception. Now, this active deception is not because she's guilty of planning the murder of the 2 little children and Chris Watts' wife. That's not the reason for the deception. There's no, I mean, it might be, but what I'm saying is there's absolutely no evidence of it so far in this statement. But the evidence of the deception exists because it's coming from her own words, and the flags are going in all over the place. We don't know why she's being deceptive. At a guess, it's because who would want their sexting and whatever else they did together in their communications to be openly looked at? Perhaps that's the reason why. And, you know, perhaps she did encourage him to leave quite vocally, but didn't expect him to go that far. And perhaps she did want to cut his wife out of everything and told him so, but didn't expect him to go. So in other words, she's sensitive to the communications, and she's blocking the communications deliberately and using manipulation and gaslighting skills to try and hide that. Let's carry on.
Stuff like the stuff that's more current, I can give you guys a lot more like detail and exact times. But when you're asking me about something that happened 6 weeks ago and exactly what was said, it's like, I mean, I'm sure I can give you a general idea.
Okay, so now she uses the general, well, it was so long ago, you know, who could remember the exact words that we used at the exact times and so she uses the exact word in order to justify why she's not going to cooperate. And she'll just I'll give you a general idea, okay, but nothing specific or dangerous to me, and I'll waffle on for ages in the safe ground. This is what she's telling us if we listen carefully, that she's willing to give a general idea, but nothing pinpointed or precise.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, like to pinpoint exact words, it's not going to happen.
I'm not.
And she tells him to she's deleted everything off her phone. She's told the murderer to delete everything off his phone. And now she's telling law enforcement without any shame. And you can imagine how she is with people. She gets what she wants, it appears. And she sets the rules. I am not going to pinpoint exact words. It's not going to happen. Direct refusal. Now, the thing is, early in this interview, the detective has to concede, he has to surrender, because she's here voluntarily. And he needs to get hold of that telephone and begin the extraction of the evidence, whatever's left. So he will have to surrender at this point. There's no point in having the argument because it's unnecessary. It's more important to move the interview along in the correct direction rather than stall here and fight this particular machine gun nest, you know, spend weeks on it. It's instead just move past it and get on in the direction that needs to happen. But wow, she tells us the slightest pressure from the officer that he wants actually what happened, and we get the refusal. It's not gonna happen. And she has this arrogance about her. Those poor little children have been murdered, and she's destroying evidence and specifically telling him, we're not going anywhere near the exact words. I'll give you generalities, and that's it. So the detective, being experienced, will have heard all of this before, knows there's no point in having the argument here.
Now, I personally, and let me know in chat what you think about this, I feel as though he might be giving Kevin Kobach a little too much credit here, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
But he will have noted it. She's not being open and cooperative. We have deception within the statement.
Looking for exact words. Just more, let's say 6 weeks ago, he said something that triggered with you last night. That's what I'd be looking for. Or something 4 weeks ago. And if you don't remember where it was or the specific words, that doesn't matter. Just he said something that was off the wall, or he said this or he said that, that has caused you a moment to pause and you go, wow, I wonder why he said that. Now knowing what you know today. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I completely understand.
Okay, so we have the second completely understand. He's again given her the frame to which she can now give general information where it's safe for her to do so in her mind. So she will then present general ideas about how he might have been strange before in retrospect.
To be honest with you, I mean, there were several discussions that we had about his current relationship and where it had gone and what it had caused. And he talked about his kids from time to time, but the thing is he was never hostile. It was never anything aggressive. Like, even when he spoke of his wife and the fact that they were separating, it was never like ill. It was
She uses the word never quite a lot. Have you noticed that?
it was still very kind. It was just like, this is not working.
It was still very kind.
You know, and what
it was still very kind.
Explain why, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary or anything that I think would scare me. And to this day, even after everything that I found out.
Anything I think would scare me. And to this day, even after everything that I found out,
I still look back at that and I don't see any red lights with the way that he spoke of his family.
Okay. So no red lights about the family, because that would be dangerous. And never, never, never.
Can you just describe his overall demeanor over the 8, 10, 12 weeks that you guys knew each other?
It wasn't that long. It was like 6 weeks that we were hanging out. Well, I guess we knew each other longer.
Okay, but you met him in the office and just his overall persona.
But I thought it was so long ago that you can't remember, and it's not going to happen. No exact words. But only 6 weeks. Oh dear. And so this is the tell. This is when gaslighters and manipulators, they can't hold their setups together. They need the setups in order to gaslight the person. Otherwise, it just seems such a strange thing to do. You know, you can't just start with, I'm not going to tell you any of the exact words. It's not going to happen. You can't just start with that sentence. Otherwise, your personality has a spotlight shone on it. So the setup takes away the torchlight from that sentence that you're going to deliver. You're not going to get anything exact. No pinpointing of any words. Do you hear? That's what she said. But the setup allows her to say it. It's subtle, but that's what they do.
Was he aggressive? Was he mellow? Was he calm? Was he outspoken? Who was Chris?
I think he's an introvert.
So this is an example of what is called self-censorship. So he, I, etc. Let's go to the analysis, because it's a long interview, and we might as well take a look at some of the analysis. So we looked at that. I think I deleted that out of my phone too. I think I deleted that out of my phone too. Talking about the telephone number that law enforcement want. Of course, all you would have to do is go to your call history. And the call history isn't deleted, is it? But she doesn't want to. I think I deleted that. Cut him out of my life. It's a real severance verb, isn't it? Yeah, she's not open and cooperative. The priority is for no blame. Introducing levity into the meeting, It's partly ingratiation, partly unnecessary. To be honest with you, it's one of those phrases that, percentage-wise, their need to say I'm being honest is an indicator of deception. But don't forget, lots of people just use it as a turn of phrase, and they're being completely innocent, completely honest, in fact. So always take these things with a pinch of salt. It's just a single flag, and a single flag means nothing by itself. It's when you have hundreds and clusters and superclusters, and the whole statement's a rainbow of color when we've marked up the actual word-for-word transcript. Then you can begin to think, this statement is deceptive. Obviously, look for changes in pronoun or changes in language. That can often give intelligence. Not going to happen. She's really setting the rules. And the detective sensibly accepted the rules because he can always come back and ask further questions. She says, I completely understand. I just feel like some of this happened so long ago that I can't tell you like the exact words of the exact conversation at the exact time and place. This is not happening because it's like we had a lot of conversations. I mean, we talked every single day. So it's like I'm trying to help you guys with the stuff, like the stuff that's more current. I can give you guys a lot more like detail and exact times when you're asking me about something that happened 6 weeks ago and exactly what was said. It's like, I mean, I'm sure I can give you a general idea, but to be honest with you, like to pinpoint exact words, it's not going to happen. And for those who have been following Veriscope for a while now, you'll recognize the almost accent of deception. It's a pattern of linguistic.
So again, the colors in the statement here, this all has to do with this methodology of forensic statement analysis called Veriscope, which I find to be incredibly accurate, replicable, all those things that are measures of scientific accuracy. And especially in his earlier videos, he really teaches you, it's almost like a training program on how to apply this method of statement analysis to any one statement. It's really incredible. So if you're interested in that, go back and watch some of his earlier videos. You can email me and ask which videos really have that kind of the lessons in it, and I can guide you to those.
Linguistics, which the deceiver often uses. When you read it back, we can see the sensitivity here. She's basically saying, look, I'll tell you general stuff in a general way, but you're not going to get my exact words or exactly what we said or did together, partly because I've deleted it off my phone and I've told him to delete it off his. So that's that. That's what she said when you slow it all down. But because she can't say that, she says this word salad of justification, which hopefully, if you're not listening, and because she's experienced at it and gets away with it most of the time, most people concede. In this instance, the law enforcement officer conceded for a higher reason. So the use of the word exact is overused. I just feel like, yeah, so we even start off with the minimization. The reason why. Remember, if you want to go and see how we mark up entire documents, some of the earlier Veriscopes are fully marked up. But it's a skill worth learning. because it shows you the pattern immediately. So we would mark that in blue as an example. We talked every single day. So there's intelligence inside the excuse. I mean, that's a lot of daily communication. She minimizes it at some point to 6 weeks, but then maximizes it as to why it's impossible to tell you any exact words, generalities only. The reason why, because it's just, I feel it's just been so long. It's rubbish. Yeah, pinpoint. This is her refusal. To locate with precision within a known field, and this isn't leakage, by the way, from the oil field. From my own leakage. You pinpoint something that exists. The word presupposes the target is locatable. She, the cat's mother, is declining to locate it, not claiming it is gone. Do you see the difference? She's refusing to pinpoint. She knows unconsciously she can, but she's just refusing to. And she's deleted as much as she can, but doesn't know if Chris has. And so doesn't know if law enforcement have got his phone with nothing deleted. Not going to happen. Imagine working with this woman. Don't forget, the vast majority, talking about working with people and interviewing people as a candidate, the vast majority of people are interviewed for what? An hour or two, maybe twice, possibly 3 times, sometimes by different people, and most of the time by people who are hiring people that are available, or didn't annoy them too much in the interview. It's not exactly the best process, is it? And so very often the narcissistic type of manipulator and gaslighter ends up as a colleague, because they're not discovered at interview stage. But it's all there if the person looked at the words used in an interview, surprisingly enough, more so than in a law enforcement type interview, because they are less protective. They're more willing to answer certain questions. So she'll provide times and dates and locations, but she will not provide the exact words of 42 days of daily conversations. Every word she said to Chris, every direction she gave, every plan she built, she will not give, but she'll give you generalities. So the detective surrenders, rightly so. He then gives her the key as to what sort of information she can give as generalities. We have an overuse of, to be honest with you. He was never hostile. Remember this? He was never hostile. It was never anything aggressive. It was never like ill. It might be a transcript error. Do forgive my transcript errors, by the way. We're making about...
Yeah, and he thinks this is a transcript error because it's such a weird thing to say. He was never hostile. It was never anything aggressive. And it was never like, ew. You know how she says that? You can hear her saying, it was never ew. No, that is what she says, but it's such a weird thing to say that he's convinced it's a transcript error.
About 1 video a day, sometimes with a few days off here and there. So we are getting some transcript errors coming through. I do apologize for those. And of course, where it's one that we didn't catch, it can change an entire analysis, can't it? Like it did yesterday. So we noticed the way that she describes Chris. It's in negation terms. It's not exactly positive, but perhaps that's correct in these circumstances. Even though she gave the rules, we'll see as the interview goes on that she's quite willing to break the rules where it serves her, where it's safe, but she won't give any exact quotes from her. Where she breaks the rules, it's from him. It's completely one-sided. We have complete shutdown, deliberately so. No outbound leak. So essentially, even though she set the rules of completely off, it's actually, a valve. It'll go one way, not from her, but will go from him. So essentially, she did not come with her father to be interviewed there. She came to set the terms of the interview. This is her personality. She is setting the terms. She is, in effect, the leader of this relationship. And we shall see how she gets on in the other parts of the interview. And we're going to be adding to the board here as we gain intelligence. So that brings us to the end of today's Veriscope. Do like, if you remember to, it does help with extending the reach. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet already. A real signal to YouTube is that notification bell.
Okay, and so all the same things for this channel. Welcome if you're just coming in. Please do hit like, definitely be subscribed, and notification bell. If, just hit the notification bell. So many people who watch this channel, watch content on this channel, don't hit the notification bell because we can see that in the analytics. So if you don't mind, go do it now. And what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this method of forensic statement analysis? Do you like it? Have you seen this channel before? Have you watched him do analysis on this case or others? And just, yeah, let me know what you think. Let me close that down. Oops. Oop. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. All right. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just getting to some of the comments here. Skydream, how are you doing? It says, I do think that NK was making him ill with a rug. She tells on herself. Oh, well, possibly. I do believe that Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger were engaging those like extracurricular activities together. I mean, who is this person? So now you've come back as Vincent and you're just saying like weird, grotesque things. Could you just please leave? I don't know. We've got some really super strange trolls in chat. It always happens. It always happens. It always happens to the best of us, right? Jeez. So you, Anderson, and welcome. How are you doing? I'm sorry, Anders Gustafson. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but welcome. I like the Veriscope, but I don't think they completed their investigation of Jennifer Soto. Oh my God, I love the content that they did do on Jennifer Soto. I thought he was so spot on, but yeah, maybe they didn't. I would definitely like to see more on that. Julie says, thanks, Kelly. I would love this guy to analyze some people I know. Oh my gosh, no doubt, right? Yeah, trolls in chat for sure. Who are the trolls? I have no idea who they are. I can usually figure it out after the stream. You can find out a lot of information about people if you really want to. But, sometimes do you want to? Do you not want to? I don't know. All right. Well, I did a part 1 of a video about, it's basically about the day before the Watts tragedy and the timeline of Nicole Kessinger, Shanann Watts, and Chris Watts. What were they all up to on that day? what happened on that day that we don't necessarily know about, the information that is not in discovery, the information that has been wiped from Facebook pages, sometimes the internet. And yes, that was a video where it was like an hour and 10 minutes long, and the last like 20 minutes of it was muted. I don't know why. I got new software and everything, so that doesn't happen anymore. That was my last straw. I was totally done with that. So the part 2 is going to be coming out hopefully this weekend or early next week. And that end part that was muted is going to be the beginning of the next video. But I think a lot of that ties into what we're looking at here. So let's just check out a little bit of that for those of you who haven't seen it. As the part 2, again, is going to be coming out in just a few days. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about Veriscope. I'd love to hear your feedback. I just think he does such a great job. I'm really impressed with that methodology of forensic statement analysis. I think it is incredibly accurate. Welcome back to Watts the Obsession True Crime, where you'll find all of the true crime facts and none of the true crime fiction. We're not here to waste your time. No, we're here to take you on a true crime deep dive in a way that only Watts the Obsession does. And hey, welcome. We're so glad you're here. August 13th, 2018, Chris Watts took the lives of his family members. His pregnant wife, Shanann, who was 15 weeks pregnant, his daughter, Bella, who was 4 years old, and his youngest daughter, Celeste, who was only 3 years old. Shanann was pregnant with a baby that she was going to name Nico. It was going to be the family's first boy. Nico would have been Chris Watts' first son. Ever since this crime occurred over 7 years ago, there have been many questions about this crime. Did Chris Watts commit this atrocious crime on his own? Did anyone else help him? And specifically, people wonder, I wonder, did his mistress have any criminal part in committing this crime before, during, or after the fact? I just want to say thank you. I don't know if you would want me to read your real name on YouTube, but the person that just sent a super chat through PayPal, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel or do a super chat through Cash App or PayPal, I will definitely read it out if you would like me to. I don't think there was a super chat in this one, but let me check again. And thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. And yeah, I appreciate you. Let me make sure there wasn't a super chat in this. I don't think there was. I'm going to keep playing this and I'll go back to it, but thank you so much. Also, what exactly motivated Chris Watts to take the lives of his family, a family that many people would feel very fortunate to have? Was there a moment when Chris decided that he was going to end the lives of his wife and his 2 daughters in a horrific way? We have to wonder, at what point did he become so committed to this heinous act that there was no turning back?
Just like the whole everything that happened that morning, I don't know, like I try to go back in my head. I'm just like, I didn't want to do this, but I did it. Everything just kind of like
felt like you had to.
It just felt like it was. I don't even want to say it felt like it had to. It just felt like there was already something in my mind that was implanted that I was going to do it, and I woke up that morning, it was going to happen, and I had no control.
Although we don't know exactly what went on in Chris's mind and when the moment was when he decided the fates of his family members were sealed. But we do know that Chris Watts told Sherilyn Cadle, a woman that he was corresponding with through writing letters and occasionally talking on the phone, that on August 12th, when he put his daughters to bed, he knew what was going to happen soon after. He says in one of his letters to Sherilyn Cadle, I'm not sure if I want this in the book or if God does, but here are some of the things I left out. And he's talking about in his interview from February 2019 when the investigators went to visit him at Dodge Correctional Facility in Wisconsin. 1. August 12th. When I finished putting the girls to bed, I walked away and said, that's the last time I'm going to be tucking my babies in. I knew what was going to happen the day before, and I did nothing to stop it. I was numb to the entire world. I'd literally taken my kids to a birthday party, played with water balloons, and had an amazing time. Sang songs all the way home. Gave them both a shower, ate dinner, read bedtime stories, and sang bedtime songs, and still nothing registered. When Shanann had to be somewhere, I always enjoyed taking the girls places or playing outside because it was an opportunity to bond. And still, even the night before, I couldn't stop myself from what I knew would occur the next morning. Wow. So if this is true, what he's telling Cheryl and Cato and the way she's reporting it is true, well, we have verified that these are letters that Christopher has written. It's his handwriting. Handwriting analysis has been done. So this is what he's telling her. If this is true, all that we know is on August 12th, he had made up his mind. So what exactly happened on August 12th, 2018 that would cause Chris Watts to make up his mind about taking the lives of his entire family? August 12th is the most controversial and interesting day of known events and communications in this entire case by far. August 12th is also the most intriguing and explosive day of events, communications, fateful decisions, and agendas that have been hidden for over 7 years. These elements have been hidden by both the parties involved and by the powers that be. It was not until I began my research for this video that I realized how much happened on this day and how much was hidden from view and therefore eliminated from the narrative, as they say, and from the history books until now. In this video, we are going to look at, well, two things. Shanann Watts' actual final Facebook posts right after the murders. 3 of Shanann Watts' Facebook posts from Sunday, August 12th, disappeared. To understand the importance of Shanann's deleted Facebook post from Sunday, August 12th, we need to look at the flurry of curious activity that happened that day, including the 111-minute phone conversation between Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger that happened that evening, Sunday, August 12th, just hours before Chris Watts, perhaps with the help of another, annihilated his family. This is Shanann Watts walking into her home at 2825 Saratoga Trail at 1:48 a.m. in the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018. We know by the time that Chris Watts left in his work truck at 5:46 a.m. that same morning, just hours later, Shanann's life had already been taken. I would like to propose to you that it is what happened in those hours before this horrible tragedy occurred, over the weekend before that Monday, August 13th, 2018, and the day before the tragedy occurred, Sunday, August 12th. Critical events took place that made this horrible fate inevitable.
This husband has confessed to killing his family, and he is now detained.
Chris Watts has confessed to killing his pregnant wife and their 2 little girls, Bella and Celeste. And we know that right now police are digging up the bodies, that they know where the bodies are and that they are looking for them right now.
Is that Ash for Shanann? Okay, and where are the girls at?
Mm-hmm. Are they in the tanks?
What's in the tanks?
It's a mixture of oil and water.
The decision was made about 4 days ago.
The decision to take the death penalty off the table in exchange for Christopher Watts' guilty plea to all 9 counts he was originally charged with, including first-degree murder of a child under 12, tampering with a deceased body, and unlawful termination of a pregnancy.
The Watts family murders. This is undoubtedly one of the most horrific crime stories of our era. Over 5 years has passed, and with each passing year, with each passing day, nothing about this case becomes more clear. Looking back on the investigation of this case and the prosecution of Chris Watts, you have to ask yourself, was anything ever meant to be clear? Was justice ever meant to be achieved? Among the lack of clarity and transparency in this case and investigation are many legitimate questions that warrant answers. Without answers to the plethora of questions the public has regarding this case, people feel compelled to dig further to find the answers the authorities won't provide on their own. The Watts case has proven to be one that presents more questions when you dig further to find the answers. There are big questions like, why has key information been buried or ignored? Why has law enforcement been less than honest with the public? Why was evidence removed from the discovery very shortly after the discovery was first released? We will be at least touching on all of these questions, but first, a direct question. Why were many of Shanann Watts' Facebook posts removed and seemingly scrubbed from the internet? There are 3 posts that she made on Sunday, August 12th, that were removed from her Facebook page shortly after this tragedy happened. Strange, right? I mean, they must have been really scandalous posts, don't you think? We don't stop until we find what we're looking for around here, so we have them for you. You can tell us what you think. On Sunday, August 12th, at 1:59 p.m., Shanann posts, ready to get home, to Chris and the girls. She makes this Facebook post while she is in Arizona on a Thrive trip. The next Facebook post from that day that was later removed was made at 5:29 p.m. The baby move twice this weekend with 2 loving emoji faces. And then finally, on Sunday, August 12th at 11:09 p.m., she posts ready to be home with Chris and the girls. And it shows her traveling from Arizona. Now, why is it these particular posts were removed from her Facebook account and scrubbed from the internet shortly after this tragedy occurred? I really can't tell you. But by the end of this video, you will probably understand the significance of these Facebook posts in the context of everything else that happened on that day. I guess in order to be able to put the events of Sunday, August 12th into proper context, we do need to talk a little bit about what happened Saturday night, August 11th. That's a night when Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger went out on a date to the Lazy Dog restaurant. Chris Watts had a babysitter come and watch Bella and Celeste because Shanann was in Arizona for the weekend. This babysitter's name was McKenna, and she was the daughter of Shanann and Chris's friend, Jeremy and Jennifer Lindstrom. Jeremy, McKenna's dad, actually had invited Chris to go to a Broncos game that very same night. And Chris turned him down, going with the same story that he was telling Shanann, which was a lie, which was that he was going to a Rockies game with people from work, whereas really he was going out to dinner with Nicole Kessinger, his sexy empanada. Right after Watts left Kessinger's house, she got right to Googling, searching Chris Watts, Shanann Watts, Ronnie Watts, that's Chris Watts' father, and 2825 Saratoga Trail, the address of the Watts family's home. This day between Watts and Kessinger at the Lazy Dog restaurant is significant not only due to its proximity to the murders. It happened on the evening of August 11th. The murders were the early morning hours of August 13th. But also due to what Chris Watts himself said about it in reflection, and also Nicole Kessinger's response when she was asked the question, so, what'd you guys talk about on your date at the Lazy Dog restaurant that Saturday night?
Saturday, during your dinner, what kind of conversation did you guys have?
I don't even remember. So he's been trying to eat a little healthier than he normally does. And he's always been in the working out since I knew him. And he tries to eat clean, but he was trying to step it up a little bit. And nothing like the people who do the competitions and the shows.
Oh boy.
What kind of conversation did you guys have?
I don't even remember.
For those of you who don't know, I'm going to leave a link to a video in the description that talks about, in part, that when Nicole Kessinger does not want to disclose what she and Chris Watts really spoke about or what they really did, she defaults to talking about fitness, about their shared fitness goals, about the fitness app, about the macros and keeping it tight and staying fit and dialing it in. Now, this interview was on August 16th. Nicole Kessinger did a final in-person interview with Kevin Kobach on August 23rd, about a week later. And during that interview, she talks a lot about what they spoke about over this weekend and on that Saturday night. And she does not mention once talking about macros or healthy eating. What she does talk about is her obsessive focus on finding Chris Watts an apartment. She mentions this throughout the entire interview, starting at minute 11 and going all the way to the very end of the interview around 2 hours and 25 minutes. I mean, it really is one of the overriding themes of their whole conversation. So during this interview, she reveals what they were really talking about, the Lazy Dog restaurant.
So, I mean, I started thinking, okay, well, I know in Colorado, houses sell very fast here. So I was like, what's your plan? You know, and I was like, because you might want to be prepared. And I remember that's when the whole concept came up of, you probably need to start looking for a new place pretty quick. And that was when he was kind of overwhelmed with it. And I told him, I was like, look, like I just moved a few months ago. And I was like, to find a place that was comfortable for me, it was like, it took like a lot of research. And that's when I offered to help. I was like, I'll help you. And I was putting in work on it. And I was like calling him and kind of letting him know about places. And there really wasn't that many options in Brighton. I found one. I actually texted it to myself before I texted it to him because I still have that in my phone too. Because I found it and it was great, but it was like right at the beginning of my search.
You had a week. Do you think you worked on that for a week?
No, I honestly only probably spent like a few hours over a few days and just trying to like line it up.
Just trying to think about how many days she had been back while you were working on that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
So you said, did you actually work on it for a week straight?
No.
Okay.
It was just like a couple days after work. I would just like spend a couple hours if I had time, like at the end of my day, or if I didn't go to the gym, and just sit down. And I mean, I can give you a date on one that I worked on because I texted that one to myself. This one, I loved this one. When is this? Saturday, August 11th.
That's the night you guys went out?
Yeah.
To a lazy dog.
Yes.
Or the two lazy dogs.
I think Nicole Kessinger just can't help but to tell Kevin Kobach about herself and how helpful she was and how she was so good at doing research into finding Chris Watts a new apartment, how much she wanted to help him. She's such a benevolent person, you know, and she also was really excited about this, even though things have completely gone sideways. I think she just can't help but to talk about this. But I do not think that she wanted to reveal that was a topic of conversation on their date on Saturday night, August 11th. So listen to how the tone changes when she's, it's August 11th. And he asks, is that the lazy dog date night?
Now I can give you a date on one that I worked on because I texted that one to myself. This one, I loved this one. When is this? Saturday, August 11th.
That's the night you guys went out?
Yeah.
To a lazy dog.
Yes.
Or the two lazy dogs.
Interesting how she babbles on and on and on and on and on and on for this whole interview. And then when she realizes that she revealed some information she did not want to reveal for the first time, she finds herself speechless. Okay, then you remember how Chris Watts' friend Jeremy had invited him to go to a Broncos game that night, Saturday, August 11th, when he went on that date with Nicole Kessinger at the Lazy Dog? Well, listen to what Chris Watts has to say about that evening and the choices he made and the choices he didn't make.
And it felt like, like looking back at everything, like just like reading the scripture more and more now, I can see like, God gave me opportunities to get out. like even my friend Jeremy Lindstrom, he even invited me because like it was his daughter that came and watched the kids on that Saturday night. And he was like, "Hey, you said we're going to a Rocky game. You want to go to me with the Bronco game and watch the Arizona Cardinals?" Like, in my mind, it was like, just say, "Hey, I can't find a babysitter."
Nikki.
Yeah, and maybe that would have been like, like a light switch in my head goes off, a light switch in her head goes off. Maybe it just like goes different directions.
He's saying if he hadn't gone out on that date with Nicole Kessinger to the Lazy Dog on that Saturday, maybe a light switch would go off on his head or her head and things would go in a different direction. So what was so critical that happened during that date that compelled a good husband and loving father to choose such a horrific path for this family and these lives?
Honestly, like I try to picture that whole ride, like it's like 45 minutes to an hour ride out there. And it's just like, couldn't I have like saved my girl's life? Couldn't I have done something? Why did I do it? I don't know. Like this is my flesh and blood. This is like what I wanted all my life, was to be a dad, just to have kids and they love me, and, all that, and it just nothing made sense.
Even though I didn't know them, I always think of the last daughter. I wonder what they saw. I think about the last one and how afraid she must have been. And God bless their souls.
What we're looking at here is some of the actual footage from the drive from Saratoga Trail in Frederick, Colorado to Survey 319. As we go into Sunday, August 12th, we do this knowing that something significant happened on Saturday night, August 11th, at least in the mind of Chris Watts. And isn't it what is going on in his mind at this point that matters? Because it is his mind that allowed him to do the unthinkable. What exactly was said between Kessinger and Watts, what exactly they did together when they were spending time together, we will never know because they are both so absolutely elusive and deceptive in sharing their details about their conversations and about the time they spent together. Chris Watts said there are some things he will take to his grave regarding this crime and their relationship. I believe he was referring to that, and I think that certainly will happen. Okay, so here we are, Sunday, August 12th, 2018, the day before, hours before the murders. Now, I just have to note that Nicole Kessinger's name appears all throughout the discovery and the discovery timeline. In fact, the very first item on the official discovery timeline mentions Nicole Kessinger. It's her search for the name Shanann Watts in September 2017 before she and Chris Watts ever have claimed to met one another. Interesting, right? But as we approach August 13th, the day of the murders, Nicole's name starts to fade away off of the timeline. In fact, her search for Chris Watts, Shanann Watts, Ronnie Watts, and 2825 Saratoga Trail at 10:04 p.m. on Saturday night, August 11th, right after Chris Watts leaves her house after their date, is the last time Nicole's name is mentioned until the evening after the murders. There is no mention of her name in the discovery timeline on Sunday, August 12th. Not once, guys. Okay. And that is the day of the 111-minute phone call and so many other important things. And then on the day of the murders, her ping is 6:16 a.m. in Frederick, Colorado, not mentioned on the discovery timeline. She's not mentioned on the discovery timeline again until the evening of August 13th. Just keep that in mind. I'm just saying. Okay, so just setting the stage for that day, we know that Shanann is in Arizona for a Thrive training, okay? And we're going to return back to her. And also those 3 final Facebook messages that she posted on Facebook that were scrubbed. Don't forget those. So Chris Watts was in Frederick, Colorado. He was with Bella and Celeste. This is the day after the Lazy Dog dinner date. And during that day, he goes to his friend Jeremy and Jennifer Lindstrom's home for one of their children's birthday parties. And of course, he brings the girls. Nicole Kessinger is, well, she's not really sure what she's doing on that day. Remember, she can't remember in the interview. Fuzzy memory. Tragedy happened?
I don't even know what I did on Sunday during the day. I am so tired. Let me just think about this. Daniel came over Friday. I hung out with him Saturday. And then Sunday.
When did Jim come in?
Monday.
Huh.
Jim got here Monday. What did I do on Sunday? I am like drawing a blank. I'm really tired. I don't know. Can I get back to you on that?
Man, this woman is accustomed to lying. She just does it so effortlessly. But hey, spoiler alert. Based on what we can understand, she did, at least on part of Sunday. There is no way that during this interview, just 3 days later, she doesn't remember it. So, I mean, come on, man. Total lies. But we're going to circle back to that. Listen to more lies. Here you go. Let me spoon feed you these lies.
Did you guys have any conversations on Saturday night during your meal, what he might be doing on Sunday?
I'm sure we did. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank because I haven't slept.
Went to the museum on what day? Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay.
That's right. So that's what I was like, was I hanging out with you? God.
Very memorable event, huh?
Me and him and my stepmother and my sister went to the museum. And that's right. The Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And they went to brunch prior to that. And I skipped brunch. And I went to the gym.
You shouldn't have. It was good.
I had to do core day. That was the last time I worked out, actually.
That's what we did Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, so core day, and then we went to the museum, and then
When did he tell you about the water balloon fight on Sunday evening during your conversation on the phone?
Oh, check it. It's one of those rare moments when Kevin Kobach is being crafty and trying to trick Nicole Kessinger into giving him some details about the 111-minute phone conversation. Good job on that one, and that one only, Kevin.
I think so.
Okay. So you don't know whose house he went to on Sunday, but you knew it was for a child's birthday?
Yeah, and he had told me about that in advance, really. So I don't know if it was Saturday that he had told me that he was going to go that birthday or like Friday. I just remember he was like, I got to go to this birthday party.
Okay.
With my kids.
Any other conversation that makes sense?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm really tired. So I know there are certain things that I need to tell you guys that we'll get to as these days progress.
Yep.
But in all honesty, if it doesn't stand out to me now,
Today?
it probably wasn't relevant.
Starts out a sentence with honestly, and then 3 seconds later says, in all honesty, oh, no. Lies. There is plenty Nicole Kessinger did that day, just 3 days before this interview, and we are going to show you the proof of the receipts in just a few moments. So hang on for that. Yeah, you remember what you did, girl. You remember. In the Discovery timeline, the first item on August 12, 2018 is at 7:32 a.m. It says, not found in Watts' phone, Chris Watts' phone. Shanann sent him a message. Good morning, baby. Love you. Smiley face. I don't think we need to read through every item on the timeline for this day. Just know that there is a general and strong theme throughout this entire day of Shanann making an effort to engage Chris, to be loving to him, to be sweet to him, to be understanding with him, to get him to talk to her. And Chris does not reciprocate whatsoever, except for the very basics that I imagine perhaps at this point are not going to cause his plan that he has tentatively in his mind to be foiled. That's just my theory. I think at this point, early in the day on Sunday, he's thinking about what he might do, but he's not committed to it just yet. Now, as the day goes on, Shanann's talking with Addie, and she's telling her how she plans to be more present with Chris and her family. Says that she might be working too much, spending too much time focusing on Thrive. She's coming to some self-realizations, which is really amazing that she's doing that. Such a shame that this is just happening at the very last moments of her life. She says to Addie, I'm the pusher. He's the withdrawer. He has strengths that are my weaknesses, and vice versa. Now, as we move later into the morning, Shanann asks Chris to send her some pictures of the girls and says, I miss them. So Chris sends these two pictures right here. And the note in the Discovery is roughly 18 hours before the murders, Watts took one of the last known images of Celeste in life. He sent this and one of Bella taken at the same time to Shanann. There's another picture that's going to be taken of Bella later on. Oh my goodness. At the bottom of this page of the discovery for August 12th, we see around 1:30 p.m. that afternoon, Chris Watts took a picture of his two girls, Bella and Celeste, at the Lindstrom's birthday party in the yard. The picture was far off, and he ended up sending that picture to Shanann. Now, we know that Chris Watts was at the Lindstrom's birthday party from about 1:15 to 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and that's according to his interviews and his accounts, but also the Lindstrom's accounts, which are more reliable, of course. So as we're moving along the timeline for this day, August 12th, it was about half an hour after Chris Watts took that picture of the girls at the party and sent it to Shanann that Shanann makes her first of the 3 Facebook posts for that day that were quickly removed from her Facebook page and anywhere else you could possibly find them shortly after the murders. And that is the post from 1:59 p.m. that says, "Ready to go back to Chris and the girls." Through her Facebook post on this day, Shanann is definitely letting anyone out there who reads her post know that she misses her family. She misses her kids. She misses her husband, and she's longing to be back together with them. All right, my friends, this is where things start to take a twist, where the timeline of events for this day begin to become a little more chaotic, but at the same time, as you put all this information together, very, very telling. Although Nicole Kessinger, her name does not appear in the official discovery timeline from just after 10 o'clock on Saturday night, not at all on Sunday, not on this day, not at all, and not until the evening on the 13th, the day of the murders, there is note of her activity on that Sunday, August 12th, and it is through her text communications with her best friend, Charlotte Nelson. I want to tell you that in the discovery, there are 3 agents or detectives that address the text messages between Kessinger and Charlotte Nelson. And that's, of course, Kevin Kobach. You know, they talk about these text messages extensively in the final interview NK did with him. And also Stacey Galbraith, who I mentioned briefly, and also Dave Baumhover, who is the lead detective, the head detective of the Frederick Police Department at the time of the tragedy. Now, Nicole Kessinger gets assigned, so to speak, from Special Agent Kobach of the CBI to Detective Baumhover of the Frederick Police Department on September 4th, when she goes into one of the offices to do something with her phone and to give law enforcement a letter that she's authored just for them. It's a 7-page letter about Chris Watts. I'm going to leave a link in the description to a video that goes over this 7-page letter from Kessinger in great detail. But I can tell you this, as you read through this letter, it is very clear. There is one objective in this letter. It is for Nicole Kessinger to cover her own ass regarding things that law enforcement might uncover. They might find out when they forensically evaluate her phone, Chris Watts' phone, or get evidence about her activities, her attitude, and their communications otherwise. And Dave Baumhover's narrative of his first meeting with Nicole Kessinger in the discovery, it's like, hey, I am going to be the lead of investigation from now on. You're going to be dealing with me. He goes on to say that Kessinger presented him a 7-page type document containing notes of events that she'd recalled about her and Chris Watts since her last meeting with Kobach. Now, reading verbatim from the end of the narrative from Dave Baumhover, I advised Nicole I would review the notes she provided me along with the reports and the recordings from all the previous interviews and contact her with any follow-up questions I may have. Nicole acknowledged my statement and our meeting ended shortly thereafter. Special Agent Kobach agreed to complete a follow-up interview with Nicole's friend. That friend is Charlotte Nelson, and provide me the reports. While at CBI headquarters, I took custody of Nicole's cell phone, the iPhone 6, which he had previously surrendered to Special Agent Kobach. And finally, I just want to note that Dave Baumhofer said in this very short summary, Special Agent Kobach agreed to complete a follow-up interview with Nicole's friend, and again, that's Charlotte Nelson, and provide me the reports. It was the last piece of business that they were wrapping up with Nichol Kessinger, and in fact, as far as we know, it is the only aspect of Nichol Kessinger's behavior, communications, or their potential suspicion about her that they actually probed into in this entire investigation. The text messages between her and her best friend, Charlotte Nelson. So Kessinger is handed over to Dave Baumhofer from Special Agent Kobach on September 4th, 2018. We see in the discovery the following day, on September 5th, 2018, Stacey Galbraith starts contacting Charlotte Nelson, and she is very persistent in trying to get a hold of Charlotte Nelson to find out what she and Kessinger talked about and the meaning behind their communication. There are several pages in the discovery where Galbraith is summarizing her attempts to contact Charlotte Nelson because she wasn't exactly a cooperative witness, so to speak, and this is her first attempt. On September 5th, 2018, I was asked to assist by speaking with Charlotte Nelson. Nelson is a friend of Nichol Kessinger, and the two exchanged text messages about the relationship between Kessinger and Chris Watts. Stacey Galbraith was tasked specifically with finding out what is up with the messages between Kessinger and Nelson and what is the meaning behind them. This is important. All right, y'all. So we are going to dig into those text messages between Nichol Kessinger and her best friend, Charlotte Nelson. So I just want to warn you that some of the content is sexually graphic. So if you have little ones in the room or older ones like your grandmother, you probably would like to fix that situation. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So one of the ways we know that these messages, a set of text messages from Sunday, August 12th, are the first time Kessinger told her best friend Charlotte about Chris Watts are, reasons like this. The very first message from Kessinger to Charlotte says, been kind of hanging out with a guy recently, keeping it a secret. Dude loves to eat, P-word. Never met a man who does till now. I just let it happen, LOL. So, been kind of hanging out with a dude who recently likes to keeping it a secret. Clearly, she is just introducing her best friend to this whole idea. Now, if you ask me, it's not those type of texts that Stacey Galbraith and Dave Baumhofer and Kevin Kobach and everyone in law enforcement are really interested in learning more about, or maybe they are, but for different reasons aside from the law. So I think it's more the text like this, a few lines down after they discuss, some more sexual details that law enforcement is interested in. Nikki says to Charlotte, feel like every dude I meet has kids these days. And if they don't, they have commitment issues or some bullshit like Sean. And Sean, if you don't know, is Nichol Kessinger's ex-boyfriend. So Charlotte asks, what's the dude's name? Kids are cute, man. It's a package deal, though. And Charlotte says, that's awesome. And then Nikki says, the fact that he takes care of his kids is a good thing, I think. And then she says, he's all about his kids. And Charlotte says, well, that's cool. How old are they? And Nicole says to Charlotte, I just feel like I will always be second place. Like he's been there, done that. It's early, though. We will see. He's very kind to me, though. And he works out, so he's super sexy. Oh, God, I know. Everyone take a nausea break if you need to. And then she's, kind of playing hard to get when talking to her best friend, saying, don't tell nobody. I haven't made up my mind on him yet. Yeah, right. And then she also says, like, he seems too good to be true, and reiterates it's the best sex she's ever had, and that she thinks that he really likes her. Now, what I'm about to reference is in the discovery, pages 633 through 638, and it's Stacey Galbraith's report discussing what she was trying to discuss with Charlotte Nelson and the discussion, the communication that they actually had. Now, it was on 3 days and 3 different occasions, September 5th, September 6th, September 7th, when Stacey Galbraith specifically asked Charlotte Nelson what Nicole Kessinger meant when she was kind of complaining in those text messages about Chris Watts having kids. Charlotte gave her a response, and each day, Stacey Galbraith came back and probed a little further. Obviously, they were not accepting Nicole Kessinger's answer or her best friend Charlotte's answer about, oh, yeah, it was nothing. It's just, Nikki wants to have kids of her own, a family of her own, as being truthful. They kept probing. So why is this so important? Now, Stacey Galbraith is not the only person who kept asking, what does this really mean? And Nicole Kessinger's last interview with Kevin Kobach on August 23rd, he tries to hit the topics from all different angles over a span of 2.5 hours. No matter what topic she gets him off track with, he keeps coming back to asking her about, what did you mean in this text message with Charlotte when you were talking about, Chris has kids?
Don't know. I mean, you guys can.
So there was a conversation that I asked you about between you and Charlotte too.
That's the same girl.
That same girl who was freaking out.
Yeah.
So was there ever a conversation about kids with you and Charlotte? Like I can't remember the exact context, but you guys were talking.
Hanging out with a guy who had kids.
Okay. And
she has not even
Wait. All right. So your conversation about him having kids, how did that go?
I mean, I don't know. I just told her.
Did you delete that, or is it fine?
No, I have no reason to delete anything else on my phone. And the reason I deleted all this stuff with Chris is because he was making me feel really uncomfortable, and I didn't want to see it in my phone anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, let me scroll all the way back here, man. This girl talk a lot. No, she's like.
So that's just what we're here because we talked about this before, but we didn't talk about the specific context of what that message said regarding to children. So obviously, in the situation that we're looking at now with the death of 2 children and all the other circumstantial stuff going around in the case, I just want to make sure there was no comments ever made by you regarding, children or dislike of children or love of children, either way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. Let me find it. I think this is where this starts. You guys can just take whatever you want off of there.
So it's easier for me to just take everything than it is to single it out. Plus, for the purposes of this case, the less exposure, we already have, initially you drew concern from me when you told me you deleted everything from Chris. I've already told you that. You understand why. There's no question as to why that might cause concern. So if there's anything else that ever comes up, I have it, and then we can just discuss it. Do you understand what I mean? All right.
It's right here. This is where it starts. She starts right there. She starts talking about her and her fiance. So that was weeks ago.
Now, notice the deception technique, and yes, I'm going to call it that Nicole Kessinger uses. Actually deception techniques. When Kevin Kobach is asking her directly about these messages and how she felt about Chris having kids, and did she express that to him? Did she ever do anything about that? She's playing, you whiny little baby, looking down at her phone, can't really answer the question now. And then she abruptly, every time, as soon as she has the opportunity, and even when she doesn't, changes the topic. So Kevin Kobach returns to this subject just a couple minutes later in this interview.
What do you mean by can tell he has a lot to take care of in life? What did you mean when you said that?
He has a mortgage and he has kids.
Okay.
Responsibilities. I mean, he's a father with a house.
You're even saying in here he's all about his kids.
Yeah. And she was like asking me somewhere in there, like, I mean, everything I had to say about him at that point was like really positive. Like, I think I made it clear that I wasn't like 100% sure this was like the man of my dreams and I was going to spend the rest of my life with him or anything, but I was enjoying the time that I was spending with him at that point.
You're referencing that he has 2 kids and then you don't like that because you want to have that experience with somebody else? Is that what?
I just thought I wasn't sure if he was the one that I want to be with because he had already like done everything.
Okay.
Like I was like, it would be really nice to kind of like have kids and have my own marriage and all of that stuff. So that was never anything I conveyed to him.
Now, later on in the interview, when Nicole Kessinger had been whining about her job and asking him for help with her job and a number of things that she should help herself with because she's a grown-ass adult, she says, "Oh, am I in trouble for deleting those messages?" He says, "Oh, no, you're not in trouble. It's not a crime, even though in Colorado it actually is. We've researched this very, very well." And he assures her, "Oh, yeah, I don't have any thoughts of you saying, oh, you've got to get rid of your kids. You've got to get rid of your wife." And we know he doesn't mean this because in the next clip, you're going to see he returns back to the topic hardcore and asks her about it again. So this is an investigative technique, a way of him instilling greater uncertainty and insecurity in her while she's asking about something she's actually invested in, since she does not seem to care about the death, the loss of the children and of Shanann, to potentially, throw her off balance to see if he can elicit a response from her that actually gives him something to work with. Because it's very clear at this point that the investigators know that there is something very significant there. Okay, and so shortly after this is where, when I had my old video editing software, unfortunately the video was mute for a while, and that part, don't worry, you didn't miss it. It's going to begin the part 2, which will be coming out this weekend or early next week. So I hope you guys will definitely all tune in for that. And it was so fun reading all of your chats. I'm really glad to be back on YouTube after my month-long respite and catch up with you guys and see what your thoughts are. And let me just read a couple comments here. Where's one I went to read from Nilda? How you doing, Nilda? Nilda says, "I asked myself what role Nicole Kessinger's father played in addition to bossing around Kevin, who allowed him to dictate terms." Yeah, I still am not sure what that connection is. I did make a video about Wayne Kessinger. We know that he is an engineer. If you just search my channel in Dwayne Kessinger, you'll find it. And a lot of details about him. There's no indication that he's connected politically or to law enforcement. Now, that doesn't say that he's not, but, I just don't know. I personally believe that her father's role was limited to being somebody who had to protect his daughter, because his daughter is a manipulating, whining bitch and has gotten herself in a great deal of trouble because she is pathological and that she does not think that the rules of society apply to her. So he's accustomed to having to bail her out, stand by her side, and explain her to others. Chris, yes, she's immature and evil. I agree with you on that. Tommy Girl agrees with me on what I just said. Yeah. So I think that I really, I have researched him so intensely, as I know many, many, many people have. And I really believe that is what the role is. Honey Bun, one of our wonderful moderators, says, "I want an explanation on why he was allowed in there." That really is a great question. I think like the person who did the Veriscope analysis pointed out, they just came in really being in control of things and use that interview, to their advantage is, kind of, they put all their bargaining chips on the table. And I think that was part of it. But we do need an explanation on that, don't we? Carolina, hey, how are you? Only a guilty person deletes text messages and destroys the SIM card. It wasn't done because of spicy text messages between NK and Chris. Oh, I fully agree. Absolutely. Let's see. Oh gosh, I found something kind of interesting the other day. Oh, maybe I have it up right here. Gosh, hold it. I've been looking at the discovery. I don't want to have to search the whole discovery again because it gets, I don't know, pain in the ass. Okay, but Nicole Kessinger says that it's a lazy dog. Oh, they were just talking about macros, dialing it in, tying up his diet, figuring out his, I wrote his diet, but she wrote that 7-page letter to law enforcement that I refer to as the cover my ass letter. I'm just scrolling as I'm talking, so if I sound slightly distracted, that's fine. I apologize. I'm close to it. I know I am. I know this discovery too well, as I'm sure many of you do as well. And she says in her own words, she outlines every day, well, a number of days since she claims she and Chris Watts started dating, starting on the evening of Shanann's departure from Frederick, Colorado, when she and Chris had just come back from their trip to San Diego. She turned right around and took off to go to North Carolina. The timeline starts on that very evening. And then it's the next night when Chris shows up to her house apartment with 2 boxes of condoms, one partially used box and the other new. And then, let's not get into that. But focus, Kelly, focus. She says herself, her notes for the date, August 11th, 2018, that's a Lazy Dog dinner night. Their in-person conversation, which would have been the conversation with the Lazy Dog, is all about her advising Chris on his finances and how to get financially disentangled from Shanann so he can leave her clean and scot-free as possible. And she goes into a great amount of detail. Now, everything that she includes in that letter, I feel quite confident that she was worried that law enforcement was going to find evidence of those incriminating conversations that Kessinger had with Chris Watts, and she wanted to try to get ahead of that ball and explain herself before she got into any kind of trouble. Hence the term cover my ass, or cover her ass, cover Kessinger's ass letter, right? So I just thought that was pretty interesting. So, all right, it's getting a little late. I'm getting a little tongue twisted here. But again, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Please, please do. If you like, hit the like. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. That is just a wonderful thing to do to support the channel. And I appreciate you being part of the community. Now, Anaphylaxis, who is retired law enforcement, says sometimes they do let people in if that's the only way the person will talk to them. I've seen it done before. In this case, it was detrimental. Thank you so much for that, Anaphylaxis. Yeah, I guess we're just not used to seeing it's not like normal, but yeah, thank you for that insight. I really appreciate it. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm just going to sign off again. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you guys are doing well. I'll be doing more live streams next week. Be looking for that part 2 video that is coming out. And remember, guys, life is hard. So please be kind to one another. And mostly, you should be good to yourself because you totally deserve it. I look forward to seeing you really soon.